Wednesday, February 25th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we talk a bit about 1980s Astro Boy.
Let's do this.
You know, Scott, there's a rumbling in the distance, some sort of frightening sound, not unlike the sex car that is, it's coming, and I can hear
rumbling?
it. A rumbling?
Is it in my stomach?
I guess you didn't eat dinner. No. It's, con season is fast approaching.
Con season is pretty much the whole year. I mean, people call it season, right? And
well,
I guess
is it now?
Con season is technically, right, it's like August, because August has got, late July, August has all the big conventions.
Well, you're forgetting
got Otakon, San Diego, PAX, right? They're all crammed in that one spot.
Don't forget May, which has Anime Boston and Kineticon and a whole host of other ones.
I thought, Kineticon's in August also.
It's sometime in the summer.
Late July, August is Kineticon.
See, it's hard to tell
right?
because Kineticon's website is broken again.
But no, so it's like that's the con season. Now the thing is, there are cons all year. There are always cons somewhere in the world. Somewhere in the U.S., there's a con pretty much every month at least, probably more than one every month.
Well, yes, but in the Northeast, in the summer is when most of the anime cons are that are big.
For geek conventions all in the U.S., it's from late July to early September is when all the cons are.
Yes. So there is a con season, and it's rapidly approaching.
I don't know. July is a little bit away.
It's already
February,
February, and come May, we have to start going to these cons.
Yeah. It's not con season, though, in May. It's just a con in May.
Two, maybe more cons. There's other cons.
2 cons in May? I don't know if I can do 2 in May.
I don't know. I'm pretty much looking at AB, Otakon, Kineticon, PAX.
All right. Sure.
Wow, you're so enthusiastic. Maybe we shouldn't bother.
All right. Sure.
Okay.
If we don't go, I'll do something else.
Regardless, we are actually, I figure I'll announce it now, even though it's a little early, because there have been many rumors about whether or not we will ever appear at Anime Boston. People have been asking us for like the last 4 years. Every year, they're like, hey, are you going to Anime Boston? And every year, it's like, yeah, oh, wait, no, it's the same time as some other con we go to. Like, every year.
Or they remind us, like, right before the con is about to happen.
Like, hey, you guys doing a panel at Anime Boston? Yeah, when is it?
See,
Tomorrow?
I mean, if you're deciding whether you're going to go to a convention or not as an attendee, you can decide, like, a week or 2 in advance.
Well, unless...
You don't need that much advance notice.
Well, you do for a lot of the big East cons because the hotels sell out and the tickets sell out.
Well, yeah, but, really, I mean, Otakon, you need the hotel, but you can get a ticket.
To point out, kids, if you don't already have your hotel room for Otakon, you're probably screwed.
No, you could probably get one now, but it'd be rough and it'd be shitty.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, but if you are actually going to do something at a convention, maybe an artist alley, maybe a dealer room, maybe some panels, that kind of thing, you basically need like almost a year advance notice. So if you come up to us like a few weeks in advance, like, hey, going to Anime Boston in a few weeks, it's like too late to remind us. Kinda.
Of course, we could obviate that problem by simply remembering when cons are.
Yeah.
The real problem with Anime Boston was that literally every year for the past like 7 years when I thought, man, I'd love to go to Anime Boston, something was on that same weekend every time.
I don't know. I don't remember something being on the weekend last time.
I had stuff on the weekend. It wasn't cons. It was just stuff.
Oh, just stuff.
I went places, did things. Like every year something came up. Sometimes it was cons. Sometimes it was other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the stars are in alignment this year because you might remember last year Anime Boston had some trouble with the registration, and it made all the news, and we commented on it. And it just so happens that a good friend of ours works with the Anime Boston panels and programming staff, and he was like, hey, you guys should come to Anime Boston. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's fucking do it this time. All right.
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't go to Katsucon, so to maintain the quota, why the fuck not?
We're still nowhere near. We set some records.
It's also a lot easier for us to get to Boston than it is for us to get to DC.
I don't know, but
and we know people in Boston.
DC is like a 5-hour drive from here. It's really not that bad.
Boston is a straight shot on 84 East. It's real easy.
DC is a straight shot on 95 South.
Like, think about how long it takes us to get to Kineticon. It's like 2.5 times that.
That's almost as long as it takes to get to DC.
No, like slightly longer than half the time it takes to get to DC.
I point out that every year Kineticon takes us almost 2 hours to get there.
Nah, not really.
It has for the last several years, because you remember every year we're like, yeah, let's go. Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't feel that long
And
at
then there's
all.
that traffic on 84, around 684, that
There's-
takes like an hour.
No, well, there's not going to be that traffic.
But it's been there every year.
No, it
Why
hasn't.
is it not going to be there this time?
Because they're going to leave at a different hour.
Yeah, we're probably...
Because we went to Kineticon, we would always do is be driving on 84, like while other people were getting home from work, because we'd come home early, get in the car and go, and thus be on 84 in the going home rush hour.
That is one thing.
If we go to Anime Boston, we'll probably leave on like Friday morning, Thursday night.
Most likely we're going to head there Thursday during the day.
Okay. We'll see what the situation is.
Well, that's when I'm going. I mean, I have vacation days.
I gotta see about the days.
But
Maybe I'll
yes,
just quit.
we are most definitely attending Anime Boston. We're going to be there, guesty, whatever. And we're at least going to do Anime You Should See and Know Your Creators, all our kind of typical fare. And we're going to do the late show again, since we offered that way back to Katsucon as like the Katsucon exclusive. And we didn't go to Katsucon this year. So we're going to see if this is going to become the Anime Boston exclusive.
All right, well, we'll keep shopping it around. See if anyone's buying. All right. That's all we got for that?
That's all I've got.
All right, I guess.
Do you have anything exciting to say?
I don't know. I thought we were going to do some more stuff there, but is that not confirmed yet?
Well, it's not confirmed yet, so I don't want to say anything, but there may be 2 or 3 other events we do, and I should also point out that we will very likely have the illustrious Daryl Surratt on at least one of our panels.
Well, if he shows up.
He'll be there.
Yeah, there are many possibilities of things in store, but Anime Boston is looking extremely likely.
I already got the hotel room. We're going.
Alrighty then. So, is it a nice hotel?
I have no idea. I've never been to Boston.
Great. All right, so what's going on in the news world here?
That was the
see.
slow talk of someone who wasn't quite sure what he was going to say, and he was trying to finish out the sentence while he came up with it.
That's right. So, there's that Astro Boy movie is coming out, right? The CG one that had a little trailer that was looking all right.
Yep, that was delayed and then not delayed.
Yeah, it was delayed. They got some money, not delayed, got some money. I don't know where the money's coming from. I don't know how many people are going to see it in the bad economy. There are people who know Astro Boy, but do they in the U.S., but do they really?
Scott, the bad economy, from what I've seen, movie ticket sales are actually going up.
That's because the movies are 3D.
It's not just that. It's because...
And because the Oscars was just now.
the same thing happened during the Great Depression.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I get to go study that. Some.
Entertainment.
All right. But other forms
Plus,
of
remember,
entertainment are going down the shitter.
Outside of New York City, movie theaters are pretty cheap.
Oh, that's true also.
I mean, not everyone pays like $25 to see a movie.
Yeah, that's true. All right. But anyway, Astro Boy movie, all right, looking pretty likely. And IDW is a comic publisher, right? They publish the Dick Tracy books that I buy. They're going to publish that Bloom County reprint that Rim's going to buy because he can't get enough of that.
Well, I already have the first printing. I might as well buy the last printing.
Well, it's probably going to be all fancy like the Dick Tracy one, too. It's not going to be like, the old one, which is just
But
like
my old one is so old, like it has stains from my childhood all over it.
Good reason to buy a new one. They also do like Transformers comics and that sort of stuff, right? They're a pretty high quality comics publisher, and they are going to do a 4-issue Astro Boy miniseries. So it's a comic was turned into a movie, and now the movie's turned back into a comic again. So I think that's gonna be pretty interesting, considering IDW is high quality. The movie maybe Astro Boy is high quality. So I think I'll get the first issue, or maybe get the trailer. Who knows what I'll do? But I'm going to check it out in some fashion.
I would definitely say there's a good shot of this coming together in the right way for once.
Yeah. The thing is, if it's just a comic of the movie, do you really need it if you see the movie? It's like a lot of times that happens is like they'll make, for example, right? You'll get X-Men comics, right? Then they'll make like an X-Men movie, okay? And then they'll make X-Men comics that are like the movie afterwards, after the fact. It's like, is that really? Like, anyone who reads comics read the X-Men comics the movie
but
was
Scott,
from.
you forget, those comics are not meant to be bought by fans of
The
comics
thing is,
or fans
okay,
of the movie. You know who those are bought by? Those are bought by Grandma, who knows that Billy likes the X-Mans.
No, that's not possible, because these things are only sold in comic book stores where Grandma would never be able to go.
They're also bought by collectors who buy them to collect them.
Yeah, collectors don't even like that shit.
All right, then who buys them? Because they clearly make enough money for
I
them
have
to keep
no
coming
idea who buys them. That's what I'm asking. But it's definitely not those people.
Because, Scott, I do see those things in bookstores.
Maybe, but
Like
it's
every
it's,
bookstore on the end cap has like all the comics of popular movies and all that crap together.
Yeah.
Next
I mean,
to
at
the
least,
dwindling anime and
yeah,
manga sections.
At least with things like Watchmen and 300 or whatever, right? They don't make a comic from the movie from the comic. The original comic starts selling like crazy. And Watchmen is selling stupid crazy. Like, so stupid. It's like I was looking at some of the numbers just in like the direct market, whatever, or like I think it was just. I think that I remember what the number was. I think it was in this year. If you only count 65% of bookstores that report to BookScan, which doesn't include Walmart, even right, it was like multiple hundreds of thousands. I think maybe like 600,000. It's something ridiculous number of copies of Watchmen. And this thing has been like up high on the list ever since it's been a trade. So there are millions and millions and millions of copies of Watchmen sold, which is like way more than any comic. Like it's approaching like Dragon Ball Shonen Jump levels in terms of how many people are buying this thing.
Well,
or how many individual copies one person is buying. I've bought 2.
See,
I'll probably buy another one.
I have bought 0, surprisingly
No,
enough.
I think you bought one.
I might have.
You got the trade that we have is you bought.
I did. I have no idea who owns that, nor do I know where it is.
No, I don't know where it is either. That's why I was thinking I'd buy another one. It's good to have. Because I bought the fancy hardcover one recently, not the big absolute stupid one, just the new regular old hardcover one. That one's mine, but I get a soft cover one, hand it out, pass it around, beat it up, that sort of thing. Plus, it has different colors than the hardcover one, so it's good to compare because sometimes colors have some meaning in there.
So it's not going to be just the washed out Dr. Manhattan. You're going to get the bright dark blue Dr. Manhattan.
Exactly. With his giant.
giant something.
Yeah, giant something.
But on the opposite side of things, things not doing so well. I'm sure if you're an anime fan, you've seen all the hubbub on the internet that ranges from Best Buy is dropping their anime selection to Best Buy dug up Osamu Tezuka and then stabbed his corpse.
I doubt either one of those.
But basically, the deal here is that Best Buy is doing what a lot of stars are in this economy. And stars.
Shops.
In this economy, and just in general, that if something isn't selling well,
Merchants.
They restructure what kind of merchandise their stores carry. I mean, you think every Media Play's gone, or every Circuit City's gone.
You're doing it on purpose.
Maybe. But you think, like back in the day, you'd think every Media Play was the same. You look at a Media Play, you assume that is a Media Play. There are many like it, and mine is exactly like all of them. But that wasn't the case. I mean, if you went to the Media Play near RIT in Rochester, they had an anime section that was almost as big as like their cheapo book section in the front.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it, right? If you've got, say, a Best Buy, right, in, I don't know, Tennessee, right? It's going to be a lot more country music in the music section, right?
Right.
If you got a Best Buy in, I don't know, Tampa, it's going to be a lot more metal in the music section. Right?
But
That's
what Best Buy is doing really is they're dividing up anime into basically titles that sell and titles that only sell to a small number of nerds. And they're only going to sell the titles that sell to a small number of nerds in the stores where they know the nerds are.
Huh.
And they're not going to sell them in the rest of the
stores. So in other
stores.
words, smart business?
Yeah, pretty much. So as a result, they're actually going to cut anime from a lot of their stores. Not cut it entirely, but drastically cut down to where you'll only see like the big selling top A titles, and you won't see anything else there, and they'll get rid of all the overstock.
In other words, common sense?
Yeah, pretty much.
See, I actually think this is good. It's sort of a good medicine. It's a bad, painful medicine for the anime industry, but it's sort of forcing them to fix their stupid ways, right? And that's everyone always talks about the crap factor, right? They get all these fucking right? When there weren't enough anime being brought over to the US, we complained, oh, there's not enough anime over here. Then they brought every freaking anime in the known universe over here, and we're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Why are you bringing all the crap over? Just bring the good stuff. Leave the crap in Japan where it belongs.
Like Odin and Crystal Triangle?
Exactly. So the thing that's happening and the thing that hurt, look at this. The anime companies bring all this crap over, right? Now, the thing is, when you're a publisher like an anime company, your goal is not to sell DVDs to people, but to sell DVDs to media plays and Best Buys and Circuit Cities and Amazons. As soon as you sell to the retailer, you're good. Now, they can return it. It's possible for them to return it to you,
of course,
which is not so good.
That all depends on the agreement. I mean, you can't return all things, and it's complicated.
Yeah, but usually that stuff is returnable to some degree, right? It's not like comic book stores or direct market Diamond where it's absolutely non-returnable, right? So they can return it somehow, but usually they don't. Usually you go to a Best Buy and they got this big shelf, right, depending on your Best Buy, full of everything, and they don't really return anything because stuff sells, new stuff comes in, and the only reason to return stuff is if you can't fit all the new stuff on the shelf, right? So even if, like, all the DVDs, even if you keep selling out of the popular stuff and restocking it, and the non-popular stuff just sits there taking up space, right? You don't really notice until there's a bad economy and you're really, really starting to try to push your profits up,
Of course, I guess I've noticed going into bookstores and things recently that, like, in general, the manga section in almost every bookstore has the same physical stock that it had a year ago. Like, I don't see many new titles. I see just the same, like, set of whatever sitting there, and it just grazed through by the manga cows. All the, like, ones are missing, and the rest are all sitting there.
Well, because what sells, right? Naruto, Bleach, what's the one with the... I forget the name of it.
It doesn't matter if you can't remember.
But the Full Metal Alchemist sells.
Regardless.
Right. So why the other stuff barely sells? Now, I like some of the stuff that barely sells, but you can always get it from, say, an Amazon or something like that, right? If you're a retail store carrying that, and like the off chance it might sell, it's really not good for you, even though, fans would like you to carry it. They'd like it to become popular. But if it's not, you're not making money. And the anime companies are you're sort of helping them be stupid. By buying all their crap and putting it on the shelves, you're basically making it at least a little bit profitable for them to license crap that no one wants. And thus, they continue to license crap that no one wants and sort of dig themselves into the hole that they're in.
Well, even Bandai had this to say, quote translated, "This will be good for the business, but it will make it a little harder to sell the less popular titles."
So just don't do the less popular titles at all.
But here's the problem.
Leave them be.
The eternal conundrum of the anime industry in America. The more popular a title is in its raw form, the less likely the fans are to buy it. Because popularity tends to come from fan subs and piracy. And then most of the people will watch their Bleach or their whatever, and that's it. They're never going to buy it.
It's obviously not true because, there's crazy Naruto scanslations, but meanwhile, Naruto's the #1 selling manga.
It is, but
you look at the comic selling list, it's like Watchmen, Naruto.
Yes, but even still, the raw numbers are not that high if you look at the book industry.
They're pretty high.
They're not that high, and recently they've been dropping.
No, actually, Naruto, I think, has been on the actual, book list for, every single month all year.
Which list?
I guess, the book scan, whatever. I don't, the Nielsen thingy that they... So it's the same list that says a bajillion Watchmens were sold.
All right, so that list, the list you can't name.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, trust me, it sells crazy. They make shit money, crazy shit money off it. Not bad, good money. Lots.
But that's the manga. What about the anime?
Anime just doesn't make money.
That's what I was talking about. Because the real issue here is that people, especially a show like that, it's almost a throwaway show. I mean, you watch it an episode once, you're not going to watch it again, so there's no point in buying it. The revenue model in Japan is primarily ads on TV coupled with merchandise. In America, the merchandise is all crappy, secondhand, only available at anime cons, especially since Media Play is gone, and they used to be the ones who really sold all that stuff.
Yep.
Of course, I remember during the anime boom, Media Play had this giant section of Japanese candy and Japanese toys, and they had all the same stuff that was in the dealers' rooms at cons. And now that they're gone, I don't see that in retail stores so much. They all have this tiny selection, and that's it.
Yep.
I don't know what to do about it.
Well, it's, it's the problem of any niche interest, right? If a small number of people really like something, right? They want it to be available, and they want to be able to get it, and they want to be able to,
But at the same time, the majority of fans
it's not profitable to provide it.
Well, the only reason it's not profitable is because the majority of the fans who consume most of this media, and anime is just one example. There are a lot of things like this. They like it. They enjoy watching it. They seek it out. They'll spend a little bit of effort getting it, but it's not worth paying for or putting any undue effort toward.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's exactly it. It's like if you like something, right? All right, how much do you like it, right? It's not just do you like it, it's how much do you like it, I mean, like, if I like something a whole lot, like it's my favorite thing in the universe, and I want it really badly, I'll do a lot. I'll pay a lot of money. I'll do a lot of work, just try to get it. If I kind of like something, like a little bit, like, yeah, I'd watch that. I'm not going to, that doesn't mean I'm going to pay money for it. I only like it maybe I'd pay 10 cents for it. It's like, yeah, I like it, but not so much, and if it wasn't available for 10 cents, if the only way I could get it was $10, I just would go without it. I don't need it. And that's the thing with anime, is that there are very few people who need it bad, right? Who need it bad enough to pay the price that they're charging. And that's why, Bandai Visual was so in the crapper, because they're basically like, yeah, let's go for the people who really want it so bad they'll pay $50. The thing is, there aren't enough of those people.
I mean, I wanted everything they had to offer, but even I wasn't willing to pay that much.
I didn't want everything they had to offer.
Well, I wanted a lot of what they had to offer.
Yes.
I would have paid quite a bit more than you'd expect, but still not even close to what they were asking.
Yeah, I would have paid, $15, $20 for some of those things they had.
Again, not even close to what they were asking.
Exactly.
But honestly, it's interesting because the anime industry can really go in two directions. And I feel like after there was this boom for a while and now that it's kind of fading, I feel like this isn't going to affect the long-term industry. In fact, in general, the drying up of anime stuff in stores isn't going to affect the long-term industry because the fan base is primarily online now and technologically savvy, at least to a minor degree. So unless anime communities, anime culture, anime fandom, and the industry actually reach out and get the mainstream audience that they're recording and then they kind of abandoned, then retail presence won't mean anything, and they've really got to focus on online business models and merchandise at cons, fan stuff. They have to really go for the secondary streams of revenue.
Yep. I think the one thing that's going to be key for the future of anime in the United States, right, is what's going to be on TV. Because you look, right, we've got this generation of teenagers right now who are into it, right? But will the next generation be into it? And even though they're watching lots of videos on the internet, so some of them are going to be into it, really, you ask people how they got into anime, even us, is because we saw something on TV, even if it was an off hour, even if, so I think the future of anime, at least for the next decade or so, is what is on TV, what gets on TV. And if there's no anime on TV, I'll guarantee you that 2 or 3 generations behind, this anime is going to get less popular.
Well, like I said, there are two futures. Either they have to court the mainstream audience like they did to us. I mean, I saw Vampire Hunter D, and all I could think was, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I have to see more things like this for the rest of my life.
But it wasn't the greatest thing you've ever seen.
Back then it was. I saw Vampire Hunter D, and for a 4th grader, that was the best thing in the world.
Yes, for a 4th grader.
That's about what I think the target audience is. Oh, I still like Vampire Hunter D.
Vampire Hunter D is good, but it's not the best thing ever.
No, but it's up there, partly due to nostalgia, but, I saw it on TV.
Partly due to the mouths in
the
hand.
hand was so snarky.
Yeah.
But if they don't court the mainstream audience like they used to, and if they don't do the obvious awesome thing like putting golf manga in the golf magazine or just showing Cowboy Bebop on HBO and making a big deal about it, then they're pretty much going to have to go with the secondary route of secondary income from internet fans, their children, kind of the completely side demographic.
Well, putting the golf manga in the golf magazine, when the economy was good, we were asking for that because that's the big risk, big reward move, right? Instead, they were sort of taking the just spread out, real thin, low risk, low reward move. But the thing is, it was low risk, but it wasn't like a smart move. You know, it was low risk if things stayed the same. So it was like, it was a deceptively low risk.
I think the real problem was that the industry, especially the anime side, the manga side had it, but for different reasons. They went into this like licensing frenzy, and they licensed everything because anime was selling like crazy.
Yep.
I mean, I was buying a ton of anime for a long time, and then I realized that I already had seen almost everything I liked, and there wasn't much new coming out that I liked, and then fan subs and everything went to crap, and now I haven't bought anime in a long time.
Yep. But yeah, the
having trouble there?
Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. It doesn't matter. We've talked about how anime is, not doing so great for a very long time. It's an ongoing discussion that doesn't change very much at all.
But don't worry, because there is actually some upbeat news. It turns out that Viz is laying people off and restructuring. Okay, maybe that's not it. Maybe that's not it.
It's not, yeah. Basically, I think what's going to happen right now, at least in the short term, is during the bad economy, there's very small anime companies are basically either going to die or do a CPM thing where they sit and do nothing. And the bigger companies are going to hold back. Tokyo Pop's doing, making its releases less frequent. So you're getting, one volume every 4 or 6 months instead of every 1 or 2 months, stuff like that. They're going to hold back and only do the bigger titles, cut the lower titles or delay them or, get rid of them or whatever.
Well, I think anyone who's smart.
And they're just going to be real conservative. And then when the economy gets better, they'll be able to try to make another move. Or maybe they'll get lucky and some other Naruto crazy big property will come out and they'll get it on TV and it'll be Pokemon all over again.
See, but actually, the smart way right now to act is to look at the anime conventions and the fact that their attendance is only growing and they're getting bigger and bigger. But at the same time, from what I've heard, this is just like based on rumors and hearsay, but I have heard that dealers at anime cons are having it real rough. And part of that is due to saturation and all sorts of reasons. I could think of a few offhand, but I think the main reason is the fact that most of the dealers are selling the same crap. You got like 10 booths have the exact same Gundam model and the exact same pins.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I went to that Otakon dealer's room, even that OhioCon dealer's room, right? It's like, holy shit, look at this stuff, right? And even remember, that OhioCon dealer's room was small, real small. But you know what? They had stuff in there that looking back, even now, that was stuff that you don't see in dealers' rooms nowadays. They had, some...
But it's not just the dealers doing this. It's everyone. Every anime con is stagnated into the same thing. They'll have the cosplay. They'll have the same set of lame fan panels. They'll have the same set of pathetic industry panels. Then they'll have like everything they do is so rote and so set in stone that the fan base is kind of changing in this really generic way when what the industry should be doing is actually doing something different at the cons. I'm not going to get into the details, but if they did something different at the conventions, they could spark interest in the properties that aren't well known, but yet, if known, would sell like crazy to the existing anime fan base.
In other words, intelligent marketing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that, but hey, people, they don't have that.
Like, imagine if this.
They've never had
Remember when we did that Gekiga panel at Otakon, the infamous Rated Gerald Gekiga panel?
Yeah.
Imagine if the next day in the dealer's room, there had been one dealer that had just piles of Sanctuary and Eagle and the Tree manga and just all of that stuff.
Well, there would have been 100 people that were in that room who would have bought it.
There are more than 100 people in that room. I actually have the count on my little spreadsheet of every panel we've ever done.
Well, it was, the room was full. Everyone in that room probably would have bought at least something, at least like one volume of Sanctuary.
Now imagine if instead of just Rim and Scott doing a panel about Gekiga that talks somewhat about a few of these titles, the industry put together a professional pack-style thing about that manga on the main event stage. But it's not going to happen.
No, not going to happen.
But there is one more thing that I do have to talk about. This is very important anime news. Like, this is the most important anime news you're going to hear for a while.
All right.
They have added Krauser-sama to Street Fighter Online.
Is Street Fighter Online an actual thing made by Capcom, or is it like something that they just call it's like a flash game?
The Japanese software developer Deleto has added the Johannes Krauser the second character.
I think that's one of those
from Detroit Metal City rock parody manga. Apparently, this Anime News Network article said glam rock, and then they were forced to change it by someone who was angry.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those I think it's one of those online Flash games where the guy just puts every freaking character in the universe, so you can fight. It's one of those things, I think.
Well, he looks 3D-ish.
I don't know that, though, but,
That's all I have.
Okay. Yeah, Krauser's probably, like, the most powerful character. I can't really imagine anyone who could beat him, except Voltron.
But anyway, things of the day. It's not an anime thing, but I feel like it gets stagnant if you only use things of the day related to the topic at hand.
Well, I don't know if it gets stagnant, but I think it's actually, there haven't been a lot of anime comic things of the day lately to use. So it's sort of like you got to dig into the other bins or else you're going to come up dry.
Well, primarily, I just had to use this because it's too good.
Yeah, I would have used it on Tuesday if you didn't steal it.
This is pretty much the best text adventure I've played in a while.
I've played, well, if you want to talk about, actual, like, quality, I mean, I've played some good text adventures lately, but this is pretty humorous.
Well, it's up there because it illustrates a lot of interesting points about game design and goals and goal making and all that sort of stuff. But the name of the game will tell you everything you need to know about it. The game is entitled Don't Shit Your Pants. And you just take it from there. I highly recommend you play it. And all I want to point out is that the only thing you have to do to win is not shit your pants.
Yep, but in fact, losing is also a part of winning. All right, so check this out. This isn't anime comic related, but it's somewhat Japan related. It's because it's a lady in Tokyo. She's a Japanese lady. Yeah, and she knows how to play the ukulele.
Ukulele.
And she made a ukulele, and it's a cake ukulele. She made it like cake, and she's like, see the frosting? It is imitation. See this, like ball of, this flour? It is clay. Now I will play a song on the cake ukulele, and then that's it. I like ukuleles. I like cake.
Why don't you learn how to play one?
It's not easy.
It's not that hard. I've known a lot of people who learned how to play the ukulele in a hurry.
Yeah, but if I'm going to do that, I might as well go play the guitar. Because actually, the thing is, remember I was...
Well, if you're going to do that, you might as well play the harmonica.
Well, see, the thing I realized... and this is all the eternal problem, right? It's like, okay, I said... This is sort of a tangent for Wednesday, but whatever, right?
Yeah.
I said, all right, if I can prove to myself that I'll actually practice this harmonica, which is $10, right? Who gives a shit if I don't actually practice? It's not a big loss. Then that means I have the will to practice something that is more expensive, right? Now, the problem with the harmonica, right, is that, of course, I did not practice so much at all, really. No. So that sort of sealed the deal. It's like, well, apparently I am not a practicer, and I will not learn any instruments, so do not buy any more instruments there because you will not practice them. The thing is, right, is that...
You got the DS10 Korg thing?
Well, the DS10 Korg thing is pretty good, yeah, but that has nothing to do with it. I haven't learned any piano from it. All I've learned is synthesizer. And synthesizer is not, I guess it's an instrument technically speaking, but No, but the thing is, to play a harmonica involves like learning all these skills of like, mouth dexterity, right? And while I played the clarinet and I have skills of woodwind, it's not really the same mouth skill at all. You don't have to when you're playing a woodwind,
Scott,
you just
the
have to...
YouTube video. Anyone can learn to play the harmonica.
I know. But, it was more of that sort of learning was necessary. Whereas if I got, say, a guitar...
I would
right?
argue that the guitar takes a lot more dexterity and difficult practice than the harmonica.
But it's manual dexterity, which is much easier than mouth dexterity.
I would argue the opposite.
I don't know. It's a poor justification to...
So are you going to buy a guitar?
Probably not, but I recently learned that you could get one that's like only like $100.
Yeah.
So I was
Scott,
thinking they were like $400.
You can just buy a guitar on Amazon. You can buy a used one on eBay. If you're learning, it doesn't matter. A guitar's a guitar. My brother had like an $80 electric guitar, and you know what? It worked just fine.
There's like $100 USB one on ThinkGeek. It's like, oh, wow, USB, huh? All right. So it's like I was thinking they were $400, which is why I was like getting the harmonica first, and I mean, I did play the guitar when I was in 5th grade, and the only reason I stopped, which was because I started doing band in 6th grade. And I was like, if I could have changed one thing, I would have not joined the band and would have kept playing guitar instead. Because imagine if I had kept playing the guitar since 5th grade. Let's see, I was 10 and now I'm 26. So I would have 16 years of guitar experience. I would be rocking. My whole life would be different.
Maybe.
Instead, I played the clarinet for 4 years and then stopped because it sucked.
See, it doesn't suck. You should have switched up to the soprano sax.
No.
Why not? That's actually an awesome jazz instrument.
Because.
Because why? What's wrong with the saxophone?
Basically, it was nothing to do with the instrument that was the problem. It was the fact that, I was happy in the sit-down band, but then when you get to high school, it's pretty much marching band or nothing, and I was like, fuck this marching band. And then
Doesn't have to be. At least in most high schools I saw, you could just join like the wind ensemble.
They did not have a wind ensemble. And pretty much they did have other bands, to do, but all of them were basically like marching band offshoots. Like the jazz band was like a bunch of people from the marching band. You couldn't just join the jazz band. It was like everyone's in the marching band, and then, they sort of split up into the other bands. And in the winter when it's cold, the marching band is the symphonic band. They just sit down. So it's like you couldn't do one without the other, the way it was set up there.
Huh?
And I was not, very pleased with the marching band situation. And thus...
I don't understand why. Marching band is the business.
No, it is not. It is terrible.
It is most definitely the business.
It was too... the problem with marching band is that, regular...
It's just too awesome. You couldn't handle it.
It's too terrible. I mean, it was just too militaristic, It's like
That's what makes it good.
That makes it terrible. Because, think about it. Even if I did it right, they'd be like, like I had friends in the marching band, and they'd be like, I messed up, and they made me do push-ups. It's like, if anyone told me to do push-ups, I'd give them the finger. I'd be like, fuck you.
Scott.
And then that would be the end of that.
When punk freshmen showed up late to my trumpet rehearsals at band camp, they were running laps around the football field while I watched.
I would have said no, and if you would have made me, I would have kicked you in the nuts, which is why I would not have fit into marching band. I was fine with the sit-down band, because the sit-down band, you walk in, you sit down, everyone's hanging out, having a good time. The conductor,
Scott, I want to point out, a good sit-down band has the same amount of yelling and the equivalent mental exercise of push-ups.
Well, the sit-down band that I was in did not have this problem. It was pretty much just like everyone having a good time playing music. The conductor might point at you if you were not doing something right, and but they wouldn't be yelling at you or
I got yelled at
or making you do anything.
See, Scott, you should
uncool.
Watch No Dame Cantabile, because that is pretty much a 100%.
Is the conductor yelling at people?
A 100% accurate view of what it's like to be in a band.
Is the conductor yelling at people?
Yes.
Yeah. See, that's why I wasn't gonna go for that. I'm too. I am a not taking orders person.
Too fragile of a flower for the marching band, apparently. But anyway,
well, no,
we are not talking about marching
thorny.
band.
You can't.
Because you see,
I will spike you.
Almost 30 years ago, Osamu Tezuka's Astro Boy got its second anime.
Well, yeah, because it was so good. It was, the first-ish, not the absolute first, of course, but the first-ish and bestest anime in the 60s.
It is effectively the first anime. It was the first modern animation from Japan.
Yep. And, it was so popular and awesome and amazing, and so was the manga. But, after the 70s and, it came around to the 80s, there was a whole new generation of children in Japan, and the 60s Astro Boy was a little dated. They weren't watching black and white anymore. Everyone had color TVs now. So they needed a color Astro Boy. And that's what they did.
Now, I do want to point out that it says on the Anime News Network that the 1980s Astro Boy is rated all ages and, quote, nothing objectionable.
Well, there's nothing objectionable, but if you compare it, people right now, if you go to the store, they actually have recently put out DVDs of early Sesame Street, right? Like 70s Sesame Street. And it says on those DVDs this isn't actually appropriate for children. These are for old people to have nostalgia, not for children to actually watch in place of modern Sesame Street. And, there's some good stuff on there, like learning to count and such, right?
slowly getting faster.
Right, but if you actually watch them, like, there is some stuff in there that's like, oh, and you remember the world was a different place in the 70s, and stuff that was appropriate then is not really appropriate now.
But,
not all of it is timeless.
If I had one word to describe the 1980s Astro Boy, it is rough.
It is really rough. Basically what it is there's not really an objectionable content. It's cartoon, blow stuff up violence. It's, there's no sex at all.
No.
And the thing is the morals of this, every episode, of course, has a moral, right? Just like the manga and the old show and everything. But the morals are very sort of serious and adult, a lot more serious than the morals you'll get in like the G.I. Joe thing at the end of the episode.
There was like this 8-episode streak where the moral of every episode was basically Astro Boy crying, "Why did humans make us this way?" The end.
Yeah, pretty much every episode has sort of a temporary character.
Who will die.
Who will die.
Tragically.
Or something terrible will happen. It's like, and so, for example, there was an episode where there was a robot who wanted to be president of some small country, right? And there was an evil guy who hated robots who wanted to stop him. But actually, it turned out that evil guy was the guy who made the robot president. And he died.
Who, the robot president or the guy?
The guy.
See, I think what Astro Boy 1980s, first off, is fantastic. I highly recommend, if you're an anime fan, watch it with a group of other anime fans.
Yeah,
it's a children's show, and you'll watch it, and it's obvious it is a children's show. And if you were watching it alone, you probably wouldn't get that much out of it. But there's something about giving the over-under on how long it's going to take for the character they show you to die horribly at Astro Boy's hands.
Yeah, actually, I sort of think, there are a lot of Astro Boys you could watch, including the yet-to-be-released CG movie, right? So the thing is, here, let me do the manga, right? While you should read some of the manga, Dark Horse recently combined volumes 1 and 2 into a single book. I have that, but I don't have any other volumes. That's actually, like, you should read that to get the history of it. But reading the old Astro Boy manga, it's not Tezuka's, like, mass. He didn't have his full skills, especially early on. So it's not really
all
giving
gods must walk as mortal men at first until they attain their godhood.
Of course. So it's not really like the most polished, amazing thing. You're getting he gets the stories across. There's some good artworks in there, but really it's not, going to give you the full effect, right? You can watch the old 60s show, which is also, I recommend you do that at least a little bit, right? But it is horrendously dated. It's like watching like, Mr. Magoo or some other incredibly old, even older than that cartoons. It's just so old and so cheaply animated and choppy that, it's not really going to give you the full experience. It's just giving you this sort of historical experience.
But Astro Boy 1980 is, we're not going to talk about the newer Astro Boys because a lot of people, what I hear from most people is that the new Astro Boy TV is really good, but the dub is like painful to the point of agony.
Yes, and the thing is the new Astro Boy 2004, I think, you can get the whole thing on DVD in the US for like $20, but it's dub only. So, and I heard the dub is terrible. So what are you supposed to do? This is great new Astro Boy from 2004, but you can't watch it because it's only dubbed and the dub is terrible and there's no subs.
So the answer is to watch the 1980s Astro Boy.
That is correct.
It's one thing, you'll look at it, and it looks better than American cartoons from the late 80s, even the early 90s, even the mid-90s.
Yeah, think about it. Super Mario Brothers Super Show, right? 90s. Guess what? This 80s Astro Boy from 1980 looks a lot better than that.
Well,
a whole lot better.
And if you don't remember the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, and you think that if you have any respect for it, I recommend that you go and experience what it is to see that through the eyes of an adult.
Yeah, this thing has the animation quality of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is like, middle 90s-ish, right? So, and this is from 1980, 80.
Yeah, not 80s, 80.
Yeah. So, That's pretty damn good right there, considering it's a TV show. But
Now,
it's Astro Boy, so they give it the full effort.
Now, it is a reimagining, like a reset, so it starts out from the very beginning. And the thing about the 1980s Astro Boy, because I said before it's rough, the overview is thus. A scientist, a robot scientist, has a son that he neglects because he's so engrossed in his work. The son, after having a fight with his dad, dies in a car accident alone and angry. The dad, so distraught, remakes this killing robot he was making into a replica of his child and tries to raise it as though his son had never died. And then, as the robot does not act exactly like his son, he comes to hate it and eventually casts it away from his sight. That is how Astro Boy begins.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of weird, right? It's that usually you see a story and it'll be like a scientist and an accompanying robot or monster or whatever it is, right? And the scientist is usually the maker, right? But meanwhile, in Astro Boy's maker, like, after the first few episodes, he's not there anymore. It's like he made Astro Boy and cast him out. And Dr. Elephant / Ochonamizu, or whatever his real name is, right? He's the one taking care of Astro Boy. He's the head of the Ministry of Science. But if someone told him, hey, make a copy of Astro Boy, he can't make a robot that good.
Yeah, I mean, Urain, she's nothing to...
Yeah, he made Urain. Urain is not his, he made Astro Boy's family. They're pretty stock. They're not Astro Boy quality.
Astro Boy's got some rice. He's got some rims.
Yeah, he's got a turbo and a supercharger. And
well, he's got a butt gun.
Butt gun.
I wish I had a butt gun.
That's the hardest part is the butt gun. But don't shit your pants.
And taking it from there... Here, the trope, we used to watch Horatio Hornblower as a group when we were in college. Like, we'd all get around, and we'd turn on Horatio Hornblower and yell and scream.
You want to watch Horatio Hornblower?
Kinda.
After the show? And
take odds on who's going to die and who's not going to die, and that's the bad guy, that's the good guy, explosions, and we get all into it. And Astro Boy's the same thing, because every episode, they introduce a sympathetic character, and they are either going to die tragically before or after learning their lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And then Astro was just left to stand there wondering why humans made them this way, and that's the end.
Yep. Here's some things that, right, first of all, a lot of the stories in this are, or pretty much the majority of the stories, if not all of them, are actually retellings of stories from the manga or the 60s anime. But they're retold in a easier to watch way that doesn't feel dated. It holds up over time, whereas the 60s one sort of doesn't hold up so much, but the 80s one, it tells these stories in a watchable, comprehensible, and modern fashion. And here are some things that I really like. Number one, whenever there's like a problem, you watch, say, I don't know.
Any American cartoon in most anime?
Yeah, pretty much. And when there's a problem, there'll be an easy solution, but everyone just stands around like an idiot.
It's like in Resident Evil 4, every time the big bad guy appears, you don't shoot him, you stand there during a cutscene.
Exactly. Astro Boy, he was pinned down and he immediately, punches through the wall and flies away.
The solution to every problem I have learned from Astro Boy is to punch it in the stomach until it dies.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, Astro Boy, doesn't hesitate ever. He was like, oh, there's danger? Boo, she flies right out the house, flies right to where the danger is, punches it right in the face, and it's like he doesn't hesitate. He goes straight for it and fixes it right away. It's like, oh, the aliens are bad? Boom, he starts punching the UFOs and blowing the hell out of them.
He starts just murdering other robots when they come to, if the only person he doesn't murder is Skunk. That bothers me because Skunk deserves it more than everyone else in this show.
Yeah, it's like there's all these people that he sort of reluctantly murders. He's like, oh, you're a robot, you're misbehaving, but, and we need you to stop and you won't agree, but you're not evil. You're sort of sympathetic, but we can't let you continue. And Astro Boy ends up murdering them, or they end up dying, or even though Astro Boy didn't want him to die, just wanted him to stop. But meanwhile, the Skunk, who is an evil mobster who continues to just do bad thing after bad thing after bad thing, Astro Boy doesn't kill him. He just lets him go all the time.
Well, no, they always arrest him. I figured that out later, that every time they catch Skunk, they always put him in jail. But then in the next episode, he's out again.
Yeah. And Atlas is the best villain ever because it's he's the bad guy, but he's not totally the bad guy. It's like he's not evil like Skunk, but he's sort of like Magneto almost, where he's bad, but he's just sort of different and not really straight up evil.
But like,
at least that's the way Magneto's supposed to be. I mean, people have written Magneto as straight up bad, and those people don't know how to write.
Which is the equivalent of watching something involving Star Wars and thinking, why don't they just lightsaber the fuck out of whatever it is that's causing them trouble?
Yeah, you never have to answer that question with Astro Boy, because if there's a problem can be solved by punching and shooting, Astro Boy punches and shoots immediately.
Like, if there's a big bad monster, like a big machine appears, like there's one episode where a giant robot comes to kick everybody's ass, he just immediately punches its arm off, punches inside of it, and then punches all its guts until it dies.
Yep. It's good stuff. Real good stuff. I mean, the thing is, when you remember that this is like a cartoon for kids, right? It's like, okay, punching and exploding robots is okay for kids, right? But like, there'll be a robot who's effectively a human character, and he punches a hole right through its chest, and it dies, and then you see Astro Boy crying, or looking like he's gonna cry, and the episode's over, and it's like, whoa, this is a kid's cartoon, right?
Because don't forget, humans get it just as often too.
Yeah, that's the thing is, humans technically don't die in the show, but really, like, you'll see a manned fighter jet explode. And you won't see any parachutes.
Yeah, there's none of that G.I. Joe BS in this.
Yeah. So there are people who die, but you don't notice unless you look closely and you realize, oh shit, like 100 people just got brutally murdered.
Well, except for the episode where Astro Boy is the captain of that ship.
Oh, that was a great episode.
You see a lot of people die on screen in that one.
Yeah.
That still is my favorite episode. Basically,
that was a really good one.
Because, the whole thing is Astro Boy takes the immediate direct action. He's always right. He never lies. He's pretty much perfect in every way. That's kind of the moral of the show. He's made to be good, so he's good, and he can't be but good.
Mm-hmm.
But in that episode, he is appointed captain of this expedition to Mars. And right away, someone in the crew is like, damn robot, you can't be the boss of me. And Astro Boy's response is basically, shut your human face and do what I say.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
But Astro, I've checked the thingy 1,000 times and it's fine. Check it again. But sir, there's no need. I said check it again.
That's right. Astro Boy gives him the business.
But then the guy tries to murder Astro Boy, and that doesn't work.
No.
Astro Boy just comes back pissed. That's what the best scene, when Astro Boy makes it back to the ship and he's like, I need to see you in my office right now.
It's like you're getting told what to do by what appears to be a little kid, and is effectively a little kid. I mean, he's a relatively new robot. I mean, what's he, not even a few years old? Right? He's just wicked powerful, and he's a robot, so he's wicked smart, and he's in a body that looks like a kid robot, Really, Astro Boy's parents are younger than Astro Boy. Think about that.
Plus, just the fact that his parents kind of nominally control him, but anytime something serious goes on, he just punches a hole in the wall and leaves.
Well, because really, his parents are just there to sort of, if you think about it on sort of a meta level, right, what the show doesn't say is that the reason Astro Boy has a family is so that he can sort of live a simulated human life and be more empathetic with the human race and such, and thus he won't, turn out to be one of those robots who goes crazy and kills everyone, and that's why, he's all... He likes humans. If he didn't have a family and he was just living with, the doctor and being a robot of science, he'd be a lot more like some of the other robots you see in the show, like, who are just assistants to professors. And
Daddy Walrus would have straightened him out.
Yeah, that's why he's sent to school and such like that. Where you don't see other robots doing these things. You only see Astro Boy doing these things so much.
But I guess the real joy of this show is to watch it with a group of people who are into anime in some fashion, and to just revel in what is good about the show and what is bad or doesn't make sense about the show.
We're watching the dub on Netflix. I haven't watched a sub, if there is one.
The dub works just fine.
The dub, there are some parts in the dub that are sort of ungood.
What is wrong with you, Astro Boy?
A lot of it is when someone's obviously trying to match lip flaps, or there's a temporary character who has a bad actor. But Astro Boy's voice is really good, and you get, after a couple episodes, whoever's voice acting him is doing a great job. The professor has a great voice. Urain has sort of a bad voice, needs to work on that.
But it kind of works because she's kind of messed up.
Yeah. I mean, the voices are all right. You know, it's a good as a dub as you're gonna get for that kind of thing. You know, it's not quite as good as the Cowboy Bebop dub, but it's much better than the average dub, and it's just fine. If that's, you know, if you're gonna Netflix stream it, go for it. You know, no reason to buy DVDs just to get the subtitles if you don't have to.
Yep. I mean, I'd highly recommend it. If you're an anime fan, at least watch like the first 10 episodes of this to see what we're talking about.
And the key to getting the full enjoyment is just really think about exactly what you're watching. You know, notice like when something like hard, and then think this is a kid's show, right? So when they go in to arrest the guy who in the death balloon episode, and he points a gun at his head, and then they have to stop. Then Astro Boy has to like run and grab the gun or whatever to keep him from killing himself. Remember, that was a show for like little kids.
Even better is the fact
and then
that
the entertainment value goes way up when you think about that.
if you take everything at face value, I mean, a lot of times the show is weird in that much of the time it makes a lot more sense than other anime or other TV shows in general at face value, because there's a problem. Astro Boy, like, say he finds out where the bad guy is. The next scene is him flying into their hideout and punching all of them.
Yeah.
Like, immediately. It just cuts right to him busting in through the ceiling. He takes the immediate direct action all the time. But at the same time, they'll just take all the kids in the elementary school class and send them on a field trip unguarded into space.
Yep.
And then they lose contact with it, and they don't have any like plan or means to save them whatsoever.
Well, Astro Boy's up there, but other than that, they got nothing.
Those kids almost died in the cold vacuum of space like 4 times in that episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of, you know, sort of, sometimes the premises of the episodes are a little screwed up, but what happens within the context of the screwed up premise is never screwed up. If that makes any sense.
I guess I enjoyed the show, and I expect you would too. And even if you don't, it's a part of anime history. You should at least have seen some of all the Astro Boys.
Yeah, if you're gonna watch an Astro Boy TV show, you know, like a lot, you know, watch a little bit of the 60s one so you get your history. Read, you know, some of the manga so you get the deal with that. You don't need to read all the volumes. Plus, there's way too many of them, and they're hard to get. You know, relatively hard to get. The newer series, like we said, terrible dub. So, you know, it's if you can get it subtitled, by all means, watch that. It's supposedly awesome, even though I've never seen it, but I've heard the dub was terrible. But if you're gonna watch a whole Astro Boy, this 80s one is where it's at.
On that note, we could watch another episode. We're actually we're a little over halfway through it right now. There's 52 episodes of this.
That's a pretty good number, I think, because it's like a limited series, but it's not too short. And since it's, you know, very episodic, but there are some sort of, you know, continuing plot threads. It's like think about Voltron, right? When you watch Voltron, every single episode of Voltron is pretty much, they're always fighting, you know, robo-beasts that come from the biggest you know, the only villain. There's only one villain.
Plus, they always happen to solve the problem just before the end of the episode.
Right. In Astro Boy, right, every episode is sort of its own thing, but like there are so many episodes with Atlas in them. So Atlas, you'll get like an Atlas episode like once every 5 episodes or once every 10 or something, you know, they're interspersed. So it's like there's this Atlas storyline. Now, usually in like modern shonen stuff, when you have a storyline with a villain, all the episodes will be clumped up. Like, so in Naruto, it's like first 10 episodes, fight the guy with the big sword. Next 10 episodes, fight the guy with the ninja stars. You know, next 10 episodes, fight, you know, it's like that. Or like One Piece, right? First we fight the clown, you know, in this arc. And then we fight this, right? In Astro Boy, the arc is spread out. So there's the Atlas arc, but the Atlas arc isn't all at once. It's not like 10 episodes in a row of Atlas. It's 10 episodes spread out over the series of Atlas. You know, it's like he comes and he goes. It's 10 episodes spread out over the series of Skunk. You know, he comes and he goes. And I kind of like it more that way. It's more like a Cowboy Bebop kind of thing. You know, it's like Vicious is spread out over the series. It's not all at once. And I think that actually gives a lot more power to, you know, the character, you know, that is the villain in the series than putting them all together does.
Plus, it's just one thing that really strikes me, if nothing else, and I hope it strikes you too, that you watch this and you compare it to American television aimed at a similar audience in America, you know, children of that age at that time, and it's so much more mature and real, and kids will learn a lot more from Astro Boy than they will from most of the cartoons that were on in 1980 in America.
Yeah, Astro Boy, it's got three elements going on. It's got the element of quality animation, right? It's got the element of science fiction, and it's got the element of non-simplistic morality. And those are the three things Astro Boy has.
I mean, it's like the difference
are off, not combined.
Like a kid watching G.I. Joe versus a kid watching Macross.
Yep, exactly.
Maybe if we had more intelligent programming for kids, they'd do better.
Probably.
Yeah. Of course, Avatar.
Of course, it would also help kids do a lot better if we didn't program them.
Yeah. Well, no, we have to program them. I mean, look, no, the moral of Astro Boy, if we program them completely, they're all perfect. Because robots never do bad on their own. Either someone makes them that way, or they're completely sentient and self-moving.
And even when they, do make them wrong, sometimes they're smart enough to do right in the end anyway.
But then they get exploded after falling into lava anyway.
And so whenever anyone learns their lesson, they're about, if someone was bad and then they learn that they were wrong and they repent or whatever, they immediately die.
Oh my God, the worst was the Robio and Robiette episode.
That one was harsh.
Everyone died except the two people who were responsible.
Yeah. It's like basically what happens is the people, there's always the good people are always, tragic and they die. But then the actual villains, rather than die, they're made to watch the tragedy and then they're forced to continue living, and that is their suffering.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Odeo on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.